In the past, everyone seemed to dislike Yuya, even his own family. They rejected him just because of how he looked. But his granddad was different. He cared about Yuya and always gave him advice to help others. One day, when some mean guys were bothering Kaori, Yuya came to her rescue, even though he ended up getting hurt. Later on, Yuya's granddad passed away, leaving him some property. But when Yuya couldn't access the inheritance, his parents disowned him, which made him feel really alone and sad. He was also picked on by bullies at school. One day, he got so angry that he punched a hole in his bathroom wall. But guess what? Behind the wall, he found a secret room filled with old and interesting things that his granddad had left behind. In that room, he discovered a door that took him to a whole different world with magic and a leveling up system. And here's the crazy part: when Yuya came back to school from that other world, he looked totally different. He became really good looking and confident, which surprised everyone. His brothers and sisters were jealous of his change. Then, a person from a magazine found out about Yuya and thought his story was amazing. They took some cool pictures of him and were really impressed with how he looked. They believed that once the magazine came out, people would realize that Yuya was the same guy from their summer issue. The person's assistant thought other agencies would want to sign Yuya because he looked so good. But the person from the magazine had a plan because they were the one who made the special article. They wanted Yuya to join their agency. The next day, Yuya and his friends Akatsuki and Night Lion were taking it easy while Kaori got to know the new Yuya. They studied together at Yuya's house, and Kaori helped him with a tricky question by giving him a hint. Yuya thought it was cool and thanked her. He also mentioned that he was really good at languages because of a special skill he had. But when he realized he said too much, he tried to act like it wasn't a big deal. As Kaori suggested they study together for their upcoming exams, she suddenly recalls how she ended up at Yuya's house. Blushing at the memory, she asks if she can use his washroom. Some might think it's just a natural urge, but we know it's the mysterious power of Yuya charm at play. As she exits the room, Yuya realizes that it's the first time a girl has been in his house during the daytime. He humbles himself, admitting to feeling a bit nervous. Yuya wonders if Kaori will find the bathroom, and his suspicions are correct. She has unwittingly stumbled upon the room that houses the door to the other world. As she approaches it, Yuya calls out to her, causing her to startle. Apologizing for wandering around while searching for the bathroom, she explains that she felt an inexplicable pull, as if someone was calling her, leading her to that room. Yuya hesitates to tell her the truth initially, but he musters the courage and reveals that the door leads to another world. Kaori is initially confused until Yuya asks her to place her hand near the door, allowing her to sense the barrier. He explains that only those designated can pass through the door. Further elaborating, he reveals that this world is not located on Earth but possesses magical elements. To demonstrate, he casts a water spell, leaving Kaori amazed. Yuya openly shares that he has gained numerous abilities impossible to obtain on Earth, which helped him defeat the delinquents at their school and rescue people during a department store fire. Observing Kaori's fascination, Yuya extends his hand and asks if she would like to see the other world. They venture in, holding hands, and Kaori is captivated by the beauty of this new realm. Convinced by Yuya's account, she examines exotic plants as Yuya openly divulges all his secrets, as if under the influence of a truth serum. He mentions meeting Night and Akatsuki in the fantasy world and reveals their species. Though Akatsuki briefly takes offense at being compared to a pig, the moment quickly passes when an insect grabs his attention. While humans are preoccupied, Kaori's stats suddenly appear. Yuya explains that everything in this world is represented by numerical values. He realizes that her base stats are significantly higher than what he started with, as he was initially the weakest of the weak. It was through leveling up in this world that he underwent such a dramatic transformation, losing weight, gaining muscle, and changing his appearance drastically. Feeling like he cheated his way to his current state, he doesn't consider himself naturally deserving of acceptance. Kaori dismisses his self-deprecating thoughts and expresses her desire to explore more of this new world. Yuya eagerly expresses his wish to show her around, but he cautions her about the monsters lurking in the forest. He explains that the house is protected by a barrier along the fence, and anything beyond that is dangerous. However, he assures her that he will take her out another time, and they make a pinky promise. As their fingers intertwine, they both blush, and Yuya earnestly asks her not to divulge what she has witnessed. Excited by the notion of sharing an exclusive secret, Kaori interprets it as a sign of their special connection. Yuya decides to cut their trip short and return to their own world for studying. Kaori is overjoyed that they have grown closer during their time together. Meanwhile, in the capital city, Lexia returns and informs her father, the king, about her arrival. The king inquires about Yuya, as he was supposed to accompany them. The head of the princess's security apologizes, explaining that Yuya's plans had changed due to unforeseen circumstances. The king notices Luna's presence and questions if she is involved in these unexpected events. Luna fearlessly admits that the king's assumptions are correct, revealing that she had attempted to assassinate Lexia. This revelation caused a delay, preventing Yuya from joining them. Owen, the head of security, is shocked by Luna's openness, while the monarch is surprised that she survived her failed attempt. He decides to put her to death in place of the person who hired her. The king exhibits his tremendous power, swiftly moving to strike Luna with his sword. However, he is halted in his tracks when Luna demonstrates her perception of the sword's special trait. She recognizes that it can effortlessly cut through anything that tries to impede it. Luna opts to stop the king's arms instead. Lexia interrupts and scolds her father for attacking Luna. This statement confuses the king, and he feels disheartened when his daughter reprimands his behavior. Lexia reveals that she intervened to prevent Luna from being killed and transformed her would-be assassin into her guard. She requests her father to trust her judgment. Hearing these words, the king immediately steps down and officially recognizes Luna as one of Lexia's guards. He implores her to protect his daughter and asks her to release Luna from her restraints. Later, in a private meeting with Owen, the king confesses that his daughter's discontent deeply affected him. He acknowledges that Luna seems highly skilled, and Owen reveals that she is an assassin known as the Headhunter within the Dark Guild. Intrigued by the connection to Yuya, who resides in the darkest region, the monarch inquires about Hayakater, who foiled Luna's assassination attempt. Owen inadvertently divulges that Rizzler took Luna and Lexia to his house in that area, causing him to express his dismay. The king becomes furious upon learning that his daughter spent the night at a man's house, as they did not return the same day. He swiftly destroys his chair in anger. While he acknowledges that Yuya saved Lexia, this transgression prompts him to sentence Yuya to be executed by his special blade. The king relishes the thought, eagerly licking his sword. Despite Owen's attempts to reason with him, assuring him that nothing untoward occurred, the king grows angrier. Owen steps aside as the king takes out his frustration on the furniture in the room, unleashing his tirade. Meanwhile, the masked villain receives a report that the headhunter failed in her mission due to someone living in the darkest regions. The villain is also informed that the assassin has now become Lexia's guard. As the villain continues to ponder how the resident of the darkest region ended up in the royal palace, a splendid idea forms in his mind. He realizes that this resident, who is actually a member of the royal family, can be used to eliminate his father and sister. He presents his subordinate with a magic sealing barrier that, once activated, nullifies all magic within its bounds and cuts off outside interference. This renders the mages surrounding the king powerless, leaving only Owen and the headhunter capable of fighting. It creates the perfect opportunity to bring an end to the king and princess. The subordinate expresses concern about the consequences for the prince if their plan fails, but the villain has a contingency plan in place. They will shift the blame onto someone else, and the perfect scapegoat is none other than Yuya, who is a newcomer to the darkest region. The villain believes that pinning the crime on him will be effective, seeing him as nothing more than a stepping stone toward achieving their goals. Several days pass, and Yuya finds himself back in the fantasy world due to a 3-day holiday at school to make up for the ball sports competition. He defeats a sleep sheep and collects the dropped loot, which includes paradise bedding. Akatsuki immediately lies down on it and falls asleep, reveling in its comfort. They venture into town, and Yuya is astonished by the vibrant sights and sounds. He visits the merchant guild to showcase some of his world's wares. Impressed by the quality of the ground pepper from Yuya's world, the guildmaster offers to pay 100 gold coins for it. Yuya is unsure of the value, but the merchant explains that 5 gold coins can comfortably sustain a family of 4 for a year. This means that the amount Yuya is receiving could take care of that family for 20 years. After completing the transaction, the merchant provides Yuya with a merchant guild card for identification and expresses a willingness to trade with him again in the future. The merchant then directs him to the carriage that will take him to the royal capital. They travel through the night, and at daybreak, they arrive at the bustling capital. Yuya is taken aback by the density of people as they walk through the market. Akatsuki points him in the direction of the palace, and they make their way there, where they are received by Owen. Owen takes them directly to the king's hall, surprising Yuya, who feels underdressed for the occasion. However, Owen reassures him that it's an informal audience. Nervously, Yuya approaches the king, and his anxiety lessens slightly when he sees Lexia and Luna giving him friendly smiles. Owen formally introduces Yuya, and he respectfully pays his respects. The king wastes no time and immediately confronts Yuya about proposing to his daughter for marriage. The situation quickly escalates as the king accuses Yuya of seducing Lexia. This sends Yuya into a panic, especially when the king expresses disappointment that Yuya didn't bring a gift for his daughter. Apologizing, Yuya improvises and presents the paradise bedding as a gift to please the king. This sparks conversations among the mages in the hall, causing them to blush. Lexia becomes increasingly excited and praises Yuya for his boldness. Enraged, the king descends with his blade in hand, labeling Yuya as a rogue attempting to seduce his daughter right in front of him. Owen intervenes, pleading with the king to understand that Yuya is unfamiliar with their customs. Owen enlightens Yuya that in their kingdom, giving bedding to someone signifies a wish to marry that person and share a bed. This revelation stuns the room, and Yuya finds himself in trouble. However, just as planned, an ambush unfolds. A magic ceiling barrier is activated, disarming the mages and cutting off their magic. The assault begins, but Yuya and his pets swiftly overpower the intruders. The villain's subordinate gets knocked out, and Luna notices that Yuya has grown stronger once again. Annoyed, the king watches as Lexia embraces Yuya in the aftermath. The princess berates her father for attempting to strike her man. Meanwhile, Owen investigates to uncover clues about who was behind the attack. He discovers Rigger's crest, revealing that he is the older son of the king and likely the masked individual. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Owen pleads for Yuya's assistance in facing this threat, as it could potentially lead to the end of the kingdom. And with this cliffhanger, the episode concludes.